game. When you look at who's trying to acquire what parts of the land where, you can see the game being played out and what the ulterior motive is. Right? So they playing Monopoly, and in the Monopoly game, if you don't know how to advance the pieces to the board, you won't be able to play the galactic Monopoly chess game. Because it's chess, it's Monopoly, it's all the board games, word games, letter games, number games. And once you start seeing it, you start seeing the patterns, you can explain it better to people that can't see it, but they can see the results, and by your explanation, they can understand how you got there.
Gates buying up all the land, with BlackRock buying up all the utility companies and the mortgaging real estate companies. It seemed like they lean in more towards that agenda. Rod, like, what do you think about that, Rod? Because some people say, "Oh, we doomsday guys." I'm just looking at all. We just looking at their playbook here. They playbook seem like it's lining up with.
Why would you tell the public, your enemy, what you was about to do to them?
Because you're gonna cut, so they agree with it.
Right. So that's what they call preemptive karma.
Okay.
But they don't tell you how those things gonna be carried out. So you got to figure out, if they finna try to do all that, what you supposed to do to defend yourself.
Right.
We don't think along them lines. We think, woe is me, they finna do all this shit. No. And no woe is you. It's if you sit there and don't do nothing, you agree with it.
Right.
You don't protest, you don't, you know what I'm saying, say no, you don't tell your friend or tell two friends that ain't right. No. When you start doing that, you're doing your due diligence, because you might not be able to develop a platform to speak from, but you might be able to talk to the people around you.
Right.
You ain't got to make nobody listen. You're not obligated to force it on nobody. But if you got a willing ear, you spit that game to them, tell them what it is and how it works.
Hey, something you just said, man. Go ahead. I thought you was finished.
Oh yeah, I was finished.
Yeah. Some you just said made me remind me of something my uncle used to say. When people, he used to get into it with people, they say, I'm gonna come over there and knock you out, right? He said, what you think I'm gonna be doing while you doing it? You think I'm gonna be just standing there letting you do it? Hey, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, what you think I'm gonna just be standing there letting you knock me out? Please, man, I'm gonna be getting busy with you. You know what I'm saying? Or he used to say, when they made your gun, they ain't stopped making guns. You know what I'm saying? You ain't the only gun in town. You know what I'm saying? Like that right there, right? It made me think about that when you said that. That like we ain't gotta stand around and let them do nothing to it. We can, hey, we ain't no punk now. I ain't no killer, but I ain't no punk now. Don't make me pop the trunk. What Pell Key said. Everybody ain't no punk now. Don't make me go and pop the trunk, boy. You know what I'm saying? That's it down south. Huh?
That's what that's for so.
Yeah, that's the down south talk. I'm rolling.
Where I come from, some of these young dudes, they got hobbies of collecting bodies and making them disappear like magicians on the stage.
It was dark and gothic how he took over the medical industry, and I got one on the medical industry, and I got one on the educational industry. But this is my question. The ward of the state question. When I think about what he just said, I think about wards of the state. So, do you think that Rockefeller's philosophy on how he did set up the educational board was set up to make us wards of the state? because they don't teach us how to none of the stuff, the legal jargon that we're supposed to know not to be wars of the state. So do you think that his format and philosophy was to create us, to make us wars of the state based on what Aaron Russo just said?
In order to make you a perpetual servant, a slave class, is to prove that you're an imbecile in the eyes of the law. Once you've been proven an imbecile in the eyes of the law, you're not competent to administer your own affairs. Therefore, you need a caretaker, a slave master, right? And so, once you become conscious and self-aware, now they trying to find everything they can to sticky glue you into their system.
Based on what they said on the analogies on the Rockefellers educational system, they said that any kid that was caught, speaking out against, they say for example, if Christopher Columbus discovered America, they say, man, that's a bunch of crap. The people was already here. They kicked that kid to class, punish him, make an example out of him for saying that truth. Man, that's sinister. That's like a form of colonization.
It's part of indoctrination.
Go ahead.
It's part of psychological profiling. You got to remember, the early days of school, they had to teach you real stuff or people wouldn't let their children go. But over the time, they gradually shut down all of the skilled trades in public school. Because they was only there for a certain cross-section of the community. Now that it's been advocated for the whole of the community, now we don't want that program no more. Right? So they shut down the skilled trades. Then, understanding the sciences, the Pavlovian bells and the Skinner box functions, you create your classrooms based around what they call a key model. The key model is the basic layout of the classroom, the positioning of the teacher, the chairs, how many chairs per square feet, and all of that.
Dang, it's
right?
cool.
So when they start programming the child's mind, they gradually close those broad kindergarten classrooms down to little boxes in high school with the desks crammed close together because they overcrowded, so they say. To create a herd mentality. Because in the herd mentality, the herd is only going to follow the lead of that species. In the humans, we see the athletes, and now we're starting to see the academics as the excelling factors through the system for people to follow if they go all the way through. That's who they look up to. Right? You need to get them to not look up to people around them and look up to people at a distance from them so they won't feel so connected to people they look up to. Because that builds a stronger bond and a stronger willpower in the individual.
Another question before we go to this next tape is I found out that Rockefeller was set up Spelman, named after his wife, and then he was under guy. He funded the money through the American Church Union or whatever to start Morehouse, but he made him boy and girl school, all boy for Morehouse, all girl for Spelman. And black schools. Why do you think that? What would be the psychological? And AI broke down some of it on the tape. But what was your perspective on the psychological thing on separating us from the woman and man, and then educating them separate, educating the black? Go ahead.
So they had to learn the different learning styles between the two. They knew that girls was learned at a different rate than boys And now they have to separate them in order to determine which one of them learned at what pace. Current education system is geared toward the effeminization of the male, which is to put him on the feminine learning pattern, right? That they learned from separating boys from girls. By studying the way the pack move separately in masculine and feminine, and then how they interact when they once again come back together, that tell you information you need to know in order to control the people that you operating as the controller of.
Man, so you think telling me is Morehouse and Spelman could have been a social experiment as far as a think tank to use against us as far as how we learn? That's what it sounds like to me. You ain't giving that for free. Ain't nothing for free. You got some agenda. It was always agenda tied to Rockefeller's donations. It's always an agenda.
And then they also can isolate the real genius minds and separate them from the rest of them. And now they got the creators to use to create for them for a little bit of nothing. But the individual filthy rich to him. He might be worth $200 million working for the Rockefellers. Right? But he don't know that ain't no money. He ain't really in their league. They give you a bone.
From that tape is based on the Globalist, right? Now, their agenda to have this do you think that it's a form of communism? Because it seemed like they was after they was always like, if you read the COINTELPRO files, it seemed like they was always after the communism guy. But then he said like they promoted communism overall, like as far as like a certain form of it. Like they want us to be equal and equal slaves while they be on the top, right, as dictators or rulers. So do you think that the New World Order is a communism movement? A communist movement? To me, it's like a communist movement, man.
So you got to realize when you read communist writings, all of them refer to their style of government as a democracy.
Go ahead.
Whether it's the Bolshevik Revolution, whether it's the fascist rise of Hitler, they all talked about their democracy, the rule of the masses, right? So when we're looking at mass rule, the average person don't know what goes into leading their local community, let alone a whole group of tribes like that. Right. So the politics involved is above their pay grade. So they only gonna tell them what they need to know, because all of the information on the need to know basis. But they tell it to each other in code. And this is how we get to see what's really going on when we learn their codes, what patterns they follow, what stars movement are they following, why are they telling us about this event or that event. They don't never tell you anything that doesn't have an underlying agenda attached. Right? They got a reason for telling you everything they're telling you, or else they wouldn't tell you nothing. So why are they telling it to you? Why are y'all just now disclosing information about IAPs or UFOs or whatever you want to call them? Why y'all just now coming out admitting they interdimensional, intergalactic, interstellar, and all those other inner beings? What make y'all want to tell us now?
Right.
You know what I mean? Why do they follow all of the steps of continuity of government and the regular people can't see it? Because they never read the documents and they never knew what was coming, so they didn't know what science to look for.
Right.
So we got to come behind them and tell them what all happened. It was a whole changing of the guard taking place. It's almost complete.
Hmm.
You know, be like Frankie Beverly and Mays. I'm so happy to see you and me pin back in stride again.
Right. Based on I'm studying the information, they study referring to everybody like us as the goings, and we savages, and well, they really the going, but they refer to us as the going, and they got all these evil statistic plans, and it sounds like the same plans as Enlil. Like Enlil used famine, he used crop dusting. I mean, he poisoned our kids. It's the same philosophy. It seemed like coming straight out of the Old Testament.
You know, it's also coming straight out of the protocols of Zion.
Okay.
You got to know where they got a playbook.
Yeah.
Protocols being how a thing is done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the purpose of the study was to implement a program to maintain your control by controlling the systems in people's lives, right? So they follow all that Albert Pike, Scottish Rite, Freemasonic methodology, and then you have the ones who follow the York Rite methodology, the 3 degrees, which represents the 3 stages of matter: solid, liquids, and gases. Right? So you scientifically you analyzing the motive behind why they release certain information, you analyze everything they're doing, you start seeing the pattern. And the pattern is how you crack the code.
So like, to me, the pattern is fear. That's the only pattern. It's fear, fear us. We're in control. And then they admitted that hey, if these guys come together as a unit and figure out they outnumber us, 10,000 to 100,000, a million to one, they gonna say, oh, they gonna take over. So, but as long as they keep the fear, it's like this. They said if one guy, because Rockefeller said this in some of his philosophy in their little think tank. He said if one brilliant one stand out amongst them to speak out against what's happening to them, we humiliate him and make an example out of him in front of the other ones, so that he won't. It seems like the same philosophy as Willie Lynch letter.
Well, that's divided character. But by default, that made the mortals unknown immortals.
Yeah.
Right? So he's talking about prime source empowering us to exercise free will in the transference of the light. Right? Then it takes us to Prometheus stealing the flame from the gods. Right? To give it to the mortals. It goes into the reason why Hercules is going through all of these tests to develop the strength and the character. Right? So when you put it all together, it's what the priest is. He's not talking to regular people with what you read. He's talking to priests and scholars, and he's making the bridge between, let's say that guy is a high school English professor, but he's not very skilled in metaphysics. So he's going to bridge the gap between the English professor and the metaphysician by describing it in that manner. Right? The Israel is a Egyptian hijacked term. It got nothing to do with what they've been telling us that it got something to do with. Anybody tell you that God made some people with nowhere to live and that they his special people got to be delirious. Because all of us is where Mama Earth placed us at, organic to the land that we come from. We have the ability to traverse the rest of the world and visit with the other tribes.
Right.
right? So this is why in their religious texts it said we made you the tribes and clans that you may know one another, recognizing the difference. When they exploit the teaching of the people, this is to manipulate the mind of the masses. So he's talking to people with higher levels of education than the people that we communicate with on a day-to-day basis.
Indeed, indeed. Hey, and with that being said, with all this galactic talk, what's the latest update you got? I'm asking everybody who come on the show the latest update you got about the 3i Atlas. I know you posted on your Instagram. I know they said what they saying, family. It just left. They can't see it right now. I think it's hiding behind the sun, something like that. I forget what's
they telling us too many things about 3i Atlas that's inconsistent with what we've seen. They told us a couple of days ago it smashed into the sun.
They said that,
yeah. Yeah. But it ain't even by the sun though. Even when they told us that, it wasn't near the sun.
Yeah.
So it's all of the 3i Atlas phenomenon is all coded information. It's all coded information. I don't even think personally, this is my opinion, I think that it's just being used to get certain information in the public, in your face, behind your back type deal. I don't even know if it's real. Because it's too many inconsistencies. First, it was a meteor, then it wasn't a meteor, then it was an asteroid, then it wasn't an asteroid, then it was a mothership, then it wasn't a mothership, but then all these other ships keep popping up all around it, but then they keep disappearing. And I'm like, so they given a story in the reports on 3i Atlas, and until you crunch them all together, you can't see what the story is. It's like, you ever seen a penny